Right everyone, what is going on? BusterBarnes here, bringing you my match preview for Chelsea's home game in the Premier League against West Bromwich Albion, looking to pick up some more points and solidify our place into the top four. As always, I'll be going over the team news and as well as my predicted scoreline and my predicted team for the game as well. It's great to be back after the international break to talk about Chelsea with you guys. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like, comment your predicted scores and lineups down below, and as always you can subscribe for more Chelsea FC content. Going to be a little bit tricky to predict this team because obviously internationals have happened. Some players that do start regularly for Chelsea have played all of their games for their country, so maybe a bit of a rotation side. We do have the game midweek against Porto in the Champions League, which could be one that we take a little bit more seriously, but we definitely shouldn't take West Brom for granted. Going to always be difficult with Sam Allardyce as their manager. Conor Gallagher will not be able to play for West Brom, though, obviously, being on loan from Chelsea. And unfortunately, we do have the painful news that N'Golo Kante is not going to be available for this game. He got injured on international duty. Swear he always gets injured in the internationals. I absolutely can't stand it. It's such a shame. However, one positive, or two positives I should say, is that I do believe that Tammy Abraham and Thiago Silva were both in training, so hopefully they are now fit and can put their injury concerns behind them for this game. Not sure if they'll make the starting 11, but we will be getting into that in a little bit. I do believe everyone else is fit, but obviously some people's fitness may be on different levels regarding the international duties. Cannot believe that Mason Mount started all 3 games for England. What are you doing, Gareth? I honestly cannot believe it. But getting into the predicted 11 for this game, guys, I do think it will be a 3-4-3, and I do think Edouard Mendy will still keep his place in goal. Obviously, it wasn't internationals for every single country, and I don't believe all the players did go off for their teams. Edouard Mendy, hopefully he's had a decent mental rest, and hopefully he can, perform well, get another clean sheet in this game against West Brom. Maybe won't have too much to do, don't want to assume that, but you can't blame me for doing so. So hopefully he can be switched on and keep the ball from going in the back of his nets. Now, going with the back three, I am going with Cesar Azpilicueta, as he did not go on international duty. He is the club captain. Tuchel seems to like him in that right centre-back role. But I am also going for Thiago Silva to start in the middle and Kurt Zouma to start on the left. I do think Zouma can be good in the middle, but I do think being on one of the sides, whether the left or the right, would probably benefit him the most with his attributes. Thiago Silva, I think getting him into a game like this is probably the best thing to do if you do want to get him into a bit of match sharpness against West Brom. I mean, we do remember the nightmare, which was his debut for us against West Brom, so maybe he'll be looking to try and rectify a mistake that he did make in that game. But Zouma can add a bit of power to a bit more of a physical West Brom side. Now, the reason I've gone for these guys is because I think Silva probably should still go straight back in with that leadership role, so nothing against Christensen, but I do see Silva just moving back in. And with Rudiger, he started all 3 games for Germany, so I'm just thinking this in a bit of a rotational standpoint. Obviously, he's a centre-back, so maybe he's still got the energy reserves there, but I do think he'll start against Porto, and I think Tuchel just wants to make sure that everyone is going to be fully fit for that game. So I'm going with Thiago Silva and Kurt Zouma to be there with Azpilicueta. Now, going on to the wing-backs, I've gone for Marcos Alonso. He was not on international duty, so I do think that he will be ready to start this game. Reece James as well, starting at right wing-back. Hudson-Odoi, another player that picked up a bit of an injury on the international break when England under-21s unfortunately did not go through the group stage of the European Championships. I mean, what is their manager really doing? I have no clue. But Hudson-Odoi, he could be fine for this game. I did originally have him in, but with that little bit of an injury, maybe Reece James will find his place in this team. He did get a start for England, which is always great to see. Going into the midfield, obviously Kante is out. Mason Mount, he played all 3 games for England, so I do have a bit of a suspicion he'll be rested by Tuchel. And I have gone for Kovacic and for Jorginho to be in the midfield. The return of Jovicic, it does seem to be with Kante being out. Hopefully not for too long, but it does seem like it will be this game. And going into the front 3 now, this was hard. I'm not going with Mason Mount because of the amount of games he's played. I do think he'll want to start against Porto. Havertz also started all games for Germany as well. Obviously, it doesn't mean they can't play against West Brom, but early kick-off on a Saturday, it's not the best placement for us. So I have gone with number 1, Timo Werner on the left, because Tuchel did say, I believe, that Timo Werner is going to start this game. He obviously had a bit of a bad miss against North Macedonia, which Germany did lose. He hasn't started any of the games for Germany either, I don't think, so hopefully he can be fairly fresh. There was actually an interesting story of him trying to go for extra finishing practice, but Tuchel stopping him because he said that Werner has the ability and it's all, in his mind anyway. So that's a bit of decent managing. Hopefully that does, in fact, pay off. The other player I've gone for on the wing or inside forwards is Hakim Ziyech. Reason that I've gone for him is because he scored in our last 2 games before the international break. I think Tuchel will be keen, especially when Mount is maybe not going to play, to try and keep up that goal-scoring form. And I mean, Ziyech, I guess, is in the best goal-scoring form out of anyone in the team at the moment. Obviously, in our game against Sheffield, it was an own goal and a Ziyech goal. Against Atletico Madrid, Ziyech did score in that game as well, and Emerson did, who's obviously not going to play. So Ziyech probably our more informed player at the moment. So I think it makes sense. He could be rested for the game against Porto. We could see Christian Pulisic in there as well against West Brom, as he probably won't start against Porto. But Pulisic is obviously coming back from America, so maybe it's a bit too risky for Tuchel. Now, the biggest risk that I've gone for in the sign-up is probably up front. I've gone with Tammy Abraham. He might not be fit to start against West Brom. However, if he is fit, I think this is the perfect game to try and throw him in. He wasn't on international duty, could hopefully rest up. He'll have a point to prove. And I mean, all the haters, they say that, he can only score against the poor teams. I mean, West Brom, they're a poor team, so why not throw him in this game where maybe he can get some goals to his name and try and pick up a little bit of form as well. So a bit risky. We could see Giroud in there, we could see Werner up front and maybe someone else as an inside forward, but I do think this is the team that we should go for, and I do think it's a team that's good enough to beat this West Brom side. But I could be completely wrong with stuff that I'm saying. Hudson-Odoi and Mount, they might be fine. Havertz might be fine to start, but I'm just thinking a little bit in terms of rotation for that game against Porto midweek. So do let me know in the comments, guys, what you do think about that. But if I am going to go for a predicted scoreline for this game, because it's the kick-off and they're always a little bit difficult, because a lot of our players have been on international duty, I'm going to go for a solid 2-0. I do hope we can still keep a clean sheet against a West Brom side, but I do think it might be a little bit sluggish. Maybe it won't be the most pleasing game. Obviously, with Tuchel, we've been on a great run. We've been drawing, we've gone unbeaten under him so far. Whether that will last the whole season, I don't know, but it's always been, sort of seesaw with his games. If you get a really entertaining game where we're playing all around the opposition team and we're looking like scoring multiple goals but we just can't finish, or you get a bit more of the stale, slow-paced game where we sort of just scrape a point or 3. So not hopefully, but I think it might be a little bit more of the sluggish game, but I still think we should be good enough to pick up the victory and try and solidify our place in the top 4 when Tottenham actually aren't too far away behind us, and Liverpool, obviously a quality team, can just switch themselves on like that. So yeah, definitely still going to be tough to try and finish in the top 4, but hopefully we can do it, and this team should be good enough to do so. So that is going to be it, guys. My team news, my predicted lineup, and my predicted scoreline as well. So do let me know yours in the comments down below. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and subscribe for the return of this Chelsea content to the channel after the international break. I do hope you all enjoyed. I do hope you all have a nice weekend, and I'll see you next time.